Hello, I'm Brian Smith and welcome to my office. My seminars are about the evolution of the life sciences industry, pharma and medtech, and its strategies and business models. So if that area interests you, then please like and subscribe, but most of all, please share this with a friend or colleague who shares your interest. If you'd like to know more about my research in this area, then you could look at my 8 books or my 300 other publications, and there's a link in the notes below to contact me. And if you'd like the article upon which this seminar is based, then stick around to the end of the seminar and I'll tell you how to get it. All pharma and medtech companies worry about cross-functional working. Most have some issues with it and try to improve how it's done, but in rare cases I come across firms where there is such a problem that it cripples the whole organisation. So today I'm going to talk about a project I carried out with just such an organisation. And I'm going to discuss how the firms address the problem, and I hope you might learn something from that experience. The English have an expression, no names, no pack drill, we say. It means discretion is important around a confidential problem. And that's especially important in this case, so I've anonymised the company. Actually, calling it a company may be stretching a point. You see, that formed from a series of mergers that tried to create synergies between a number of smaller firms that all operate in the same specialised therapy area. Strategically, mergers are a great idea, because they're straight out of the organisational theory textbook, a way of creating synergy and economies of scale and scope. But the merged firm had kept their fragmented structure, their separate units, and that can only work if they make the parts work together, and that's where the problems lay. I say problems, but I should say problem singular. The firm generally worked well with almost all the various subunits quickly gelling into a cohesive operation. They combined their various distinctive capabilities to deliver a well-differentiated value proposition, but almost wasn't good enough in this case. There was one subunit that didn't play the game. They guarded their customer relationships very carefully, they kept secrets from their colleagues, and in every internal dealing they took a very transactional approach. The head of one of the other subunits said, "They're focused on their success, even if it kills us." Now, I facilitated their leadership team meetings, and as I listened, the image that formed in my mind was a kind of malignant tumour. Now, because I look at the industry from an evolutionary perspective, this company reminded me of what I'd read about the emergence 600 million years ago of multicellular life. That big evolutionary step wasn't straightforward. It happened independently many times, and there are competing scientific explanations for how it happened. And it has left complex life forms, like you and I, with a persistent problem of some cells that don't play the game and instead free ride for their own purposes. Of course, the name that we've given to that free riding in complex organisms is cancer. And to my mind, it was easy to see that the parallels between this organisation's rogue unit, their behaviour, and an organism's cancer. The parallels went even further. You see, cancer cells generate their energy in a different way from ordinary cells, something we call the Warburg effect. And as I listened to how the rogue unit got their resources, they did it by managing upwards to the leadership team instead of managing cross-functionally with their colleagues. The similarities with the Warburg effect were very clear. Evolutionary theory doesn't just help us understand corporate problems, it also helps us to fix them. To go back to my biological parallel, multicellular life eventually became possible only because of symbiosis between differentiated cells. And this only happened when cells repurposed old genes and evolved new genes to enable that mutual cooperation. So, the answer to this firm's problem lay in changing its DNA to do something similar to multicellular life forms. The organisational equivalent of genes are organisational routines, the little sub-processes that, just like genes, store information and can be copied. So in this company, the practical question was, how can we adapt our organisational routines to ensure cooperation and prevent free riding? The biological evolution of multicellular symbiosis didn't happen by tweaking one or two genes. It required the adaptation or creation of many alleles. It was, in biologists' language, a polygenic adaptation. The same is true in companies. In this firm's case, many adaptations were needed, but there were three that were particularly important and salient. The first, there was an existing routine for coordinating the work of subunits centred around regular project team meetings. We adapted these to include each unit making explicit what it needed from the other units, something that was previously implicit. Then we invented a new routine for making cooperation visible. This was a kind of 360-degree appraisal process so that unit leaders' performance was assessed by their peers. Third, we switched off a harmful gene. The Warburg effect routine, which the rogue unit had used to subvert the normal budgeting process by appealing directly to leadership, was blocked by the finance team. Over time, these changes fixed the problem. That rogue unit began to cooperate and to work in the firm's interests rather than its own interests. The firm's leader now tells everyone the story of how he has cured his corporate cancer. Except, of course, he hasn't. He's put it in remission, and he needs to be vigilant for mutant organisational routines that might crop up in the future. But in biology and in business, remission from cancer is sometimes the best we can hope for. Thanks for your interest in my work. If you'd like my article about curing corporate cancer, then mail me and I'll gladly send it to you. Or if you'd like to know more, then let's set up a virtual cup of tea. And please share this seminar with your colleagues, either directly or by LinkedIn.